They've scored. It's Grant who's got the goal from the free kick, and we're heading for extra time now, surely.
Flamingo! It is 2-0, and that now surely seals the K-League title for John Book and Motors.
You're listening to the K-League United podcast, proud partner of Football Nation Radio.
Hello, I'm Angaseo Ryan Walters I'm not in the K-League United bunker. I haven't been in the K-League United bunker in quite some time. I'm in what looks like a bunker, kind of. I'm in Thailand still. I'm joined by Matthew Binns. Matthew, how you doing?
I'm doing very well, Ryan. Thanks for having me.
And thanks for having you.
Yes. Well, you're the host this week. It's been a while, I must say.
It has been a bit since I've been in the host chair. Not that this is the host chair, but it is a host chair that I am in currently. So it's been a little bit of a week for you, Matthew. Has anything notable happened in your footballing life or in your life in general in the past week?
This week has been it's been a long one, a good one, mind, but a long one. Yeah. Well, I've been down to Jeju, not for footballing reasons. I took a weekend away with a girlfriend to go and see an island that I haven't seen in 8 years, which of living here. But
shame.
With the thought of Suwon Blue Wings coming to town, I quickly fled and came back to Seoul. And I watched the big match. John Book 1, Suwon FC 0, but I'm not sure that's the one you're alluding to. And
is there another one?
No. I was up late, obviously, taking in the lows and then the high of Man City nearly ruining it again for themselves. Well, they've never ruined it. They have ruined it for themselves, obviously. But you know what I mean. 2-0 down, and 3 goals, and 3 goals in 6 minutes, and I probably woke half the building. I think at 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. whenever those goals went in, it was something else. But yeah, I've just been kind of on a. I haven't caught up to sleep. It's so hot here as well. I'm not sleeping at night, and the mosquitoes are back, and I'm just like, I've still got this hangover from the Man City win, and here we are today talking about career under 23. And as I said to you before coming on, I'm like, oh, that's happening.
It is. Yeah. Please, though, as somebody in Thailand, please tell me more about this hot weather and these insects you're dealing with. What's that all about?
I know. Yeah,
are they the size of your fist? Because those are the ones that I get.
Hey, it's a whopping 27 degrees here, which, oof.
As the sun is setting, it might be down to that in about an hour here.
Yeah.
But no, we say this too often to you on this show, but congratulations on another championship, Matthew.
I mean, cheers. It's always weird getting the congratulations because it's not exactly me who's... Pep hasn't exactly... He hasn't helped me do much. No, helped me do much. Why hasn't he helped me do much? But I haven't exactly helped Pep do much with that win there. But I'll gladly take that. It was, it's been another fun season in Premier League and a nice distraction from John Book's current attempt at defending a title. But that is for another podcast.
And speaking of defending champions, we should mention that the Kings are back in the Cup. The Jeonnam Dragons are currently playing in the FA Cup. We are live tonight because we do have some guests coming up later, and guests have schedules and we have schedules, and schedules are schedules. So I may have the Dragons up in the background that you may see me looking down every now and again to what could be my phone off screen. Who knows? A rematch of last year's David versus Goliath battle between the Jeonnam Dragons and Busan Transportation Corporation FC, in which the underdogs, the Dragons, were able to get that W last year, obviously. So hoping we can get back to ACL with another FA Cup win. But yeah, there are 8 games going on right now in the FA Cup. So we're keeping an eye on that as we record.
Yeah. I'm quite pleased not to be watching John Book's inevitable defeat on penalties to another lower league side. So
it's Ulsan though. They've got it's
Ulsan Citizen. Yes.
Yeah. So
we'll see what happens there. May have a very different demeanor come the end of this podcast.
Yeah, in about 40 minutes, we'll see how Matthew Binns is feeling, as long as we're still going. But speaking of in 40 minutes, we are here tonight because we're going to be talking about the AFC U23 Asian Cup, as it is now called. It is no longer the U23 Championship. I like the rebrand. Might as well call them all the Asian Cup. So what Matthew and I are going to be doing here to start with is we're going to be talking about the Korea squad. We're going to be going position by position, goalkeepers up to forwards, and talking about the K-League players in there, obviously, but also whether we think these positions will be a strength or a weakness for the defending champions coming into this tournament. And then we are going to be previewing Group C. We're going to kick Matthew out for a little bit so he can watch the jump book penalties in horror on his own. And we will be welcoming in three guests, rather. I haven't been in the host chair in a while. From around Southeast Asia, two of which will be here live. We'll be joined by the man known simply as Keesh. He is all things Malaysia. He's on TV all the time talking about all of the things there. So great to have him back talking about Malaysia and the U23 squad there that just fell short of the Southeast Asian Games bronze medal recently. And well, he won't like this transition, sorry. But speaking of falling short in the SEA Games, we'll have Gian from Thai League Central to talk about Thailand and their recent silver medal in the SEA Games. And then talking about the gold medal, the champs, the back-to-back champs, Vietnam. We will be welcoming in via the telephone Quan Tran Tue, who will be talking about Vietnam and Park Hang-seo's last hurrah, his last victory with the U23 squad, as he'll be focusing only on the senior side now. But that's coming up later. Matthew, let's go ahead and let's get into this. Let's talk about this K-League heavy roster. Let's get started with the goalkeepers here, where we have Go Dong-min from Gyeongnam FC, Min Sung-jun from Incheon United, and Park Ji-min from Suwon Samsung Blue Wings. You'll be forgiven if you don't know those names, if those aren't household names to you, even as K-League fans. If you don't know these guys, not too tremendously surprising there. Not a ton of first team appearances between all of them this year. In fact, Go Dong-min with Gyeongnam leads the way with 6 appearances and no clean sheets so far this year. So it is his first season in K-League. He's the expected starter, right?
You'd think so, just because of the experience he's got. I mean, he has also spent 5 years in Japan, not necessarily playing. He spent 5 years in Japan with Matsumoto Yamaga. He's never actually played in the league for them. He did play for Vanre Hachinoi. I apologise, should have prepped before attempting that one. J3 side, where he made 19 appearances in 2020. But he has been playing for Gyeongnam. He's been doing okay for Gyeongnam. But this is the kind of problem, I guess, with this side. For so long with the under-23 side, it's been Songbom Kun. Even when Songbom Kun got his military exemption, they still use Songbom Kun to try and get the next military exemption instead of trying to bring through another one. And then you go back to the last time the under-23s were in competitive action. You're going all the way back to the end of last year. These 3 goalkeepers weren't even in that squad. The 3 goalkeepers that they had,
right?
Lee Guang-yong, Lee Song-ju, Lee Yeon-oh, they're not playing for under-23s anymore. So they've had to kind of bring through. It's 3 new goalkeepers in competitive sense. You could say Go Dong-min and Min Sung-jun. They've got a slight advantage because they were in the March training camp. So you'd have to think that Hwan Sung-han already has his eyes on them. Park Ji-min is a promising keeper. It's believed at Suwon Blue Wings. He has only made 1 appearance this season, though that was in the super match. He has actually also done his military service. So, it could be. I'd imagine it would probably be one of the players that Hwang has seen up close in the training camp, and I believe Go Dong-min with the playing experience would probably be the one. You could say Min Sung-jun, though, has he's got under 20 experience for the Korean national team, but playing in 2018 just 3 times. So yeah, Go Dong-min for me.
Yeah, and we've got this for every position as we're going. Do we think that this is a strength or a weakness for the squad? And I mean, when you're going from Songbom Kun, who had already won K-League a couple of times, by the time he hopped in there for the U23s last time, this has to be a step down. And to me, this is an area of concern on this squad for me.
Yes and no. I mean, Song Bom-kun, he actually made a name for himself at the national team level first, admittedly with the under-20 side, but he made it with the national team first before being signed to Jeonbuk. These players are already with clubs. They've got to start somewhere. But yeah, just purely because it's an unknown makes it a weakness, I'd say, at this point.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move up the field a little bit here and talk about the defenders. We have Kim Ju-sung from Gimcheon. Oh man, I can't believe we're going to go through all of them like this. Kim Tae-hwan from Suwon Samsung. Park Jae-hwan from Gyeongnam. Again, Gyeongnam doing things with the youth there. From some small team named the Jeonnam Dragons, we have Lee Kyu-huk, who we'll be talking about because saw him in person here in Thailand recently. Lee Sang-min is there from Cheongnam Asan. Lee Han-bum from FC Seoul. Cho Hyun-taek from Bucheon FC, and formerly of the intro, Chae-jun of the U20 World Cup. He's there with the defenders this time. So, Matthew, on this list, who are some of the standouts for you with the defenders?
Oh, there's a couple. I think Kim Tae-hwan at Suwon Blue Wings. We've talked about him before, mainly in the season preview podcast when we're talking about young players to watch at Suwon Blue Wings. He had quite the 2021, making 36 appearances for Suwon and making 14 more in appearances prior, including the Champions League in 2020. He's got lots of experience. He is a right back, but he does tend to get deployed higher up the pitch usually a right wing, but has been right up there in the attack at times. So he does offer that kind of option if Hwan Sung-hong wants to go with a more attacking threat. But another player that I have mentioned, it's only really because I've had close eyes on him recently when I was doing the commentary, and that was centre-back for FC Seoul, Lee Han-bum. He's a regular this season at Seoul, and he's in the top 3 passers in the league, which is more to do with Seoul's formation because the other 2 passers in that top 3 are also playing for FC Seoul. That's Osmar, Lee Han-bum, and Ki Sung-young, a triangle in front of the back 4. Not a Bermuda triangle, because even though the ball does go missing a lot there, it's usually the other players at fault for that. But yeah, he's been playing well. He's got good experience alongside him, and he's just 19. It's his second professional season. He's still got 10 league games under his belt last year. I like him. He did all right, I felt, in the couple of games I watched, and in some of the highlights I've watched back as well. Quietly pleased with him, I think. So could be one to watch, perhaps not standout, but certainly a player with prospect.
Sure. Unsurprisingly, I'm going to go with Lee Kyu-huk here. He does have five appearances and 4 starts for the Dragons in the league this year. But for me, it was watching him and actually really getting to watch him play closely here in Pathum Thani and seeing him in the group stage, where he had a really good goal against Melbourne City. And the thing that I liked about that goal is that, he is a modern left back. He's getting up the field there, but he had the tenacity to actually cut in and take the shot himself. He's not looking to pass it off. He's not hesitant at all. And I love seeing that in a young fullback. And so I think he's going to feature for this team, and I think he's going to do really well. He was with Asan last year. He was with Jeju before that. He was with the youth team with the U19s in 2018. So, we keep saying that because that was a really good squad. And that's the benefit of having a good squad only 4 years ago, is that a lot of these guys can still play in this tournament. So I think with that international experience combined with ACL, I think he's going to have a really, really good tournament. And that leads into the question for the defenders here. Matthew, is this position a strength or a weakness for Korea, in your opinion?
I think it's quite strong, to be honest. I think there's some good options here. There's some good attacking options at wing back. I think as well, we did mention in there, Chae-jun, currently playing at Busan, not having the best of time. Well, his club's not having the best of the time, rather. Yeah, who is in that squad at the moment? He'd be glad to get away. But yeah, he's a known talent as well, and he's a preferred talent by Hwan Sung-hong on the left fullback, and he is quite a threat going forward, both in terms of shooting and also playing people in. So yeah, Chae-jun, and just Kim Tae-hwan on the other side in a good few options at centre back. Yeah, this is a strength for Korea.
Yeah, definitely. And I'll just preempt the midfielders here before we even list them. The midfielders are a strength because they always are. And just like the senior national team, this is where the meat of this team is.
Just like the senior national team, some of them are strikers.
Yeah, sure. So we do have Go Young-jun from Pohang Steelers, Go Jae-hyun from Daegu, Kwon Hyung-gyu from Gimcheon Sangmu, Won Sang, really, really looking forward to seeing him. He's obviously in from Ulsan. Ji-sung, his former teammate at Gwangju FC. Lee Kang-in, folks may have heard of him. He plays for Mallorca. Lee Jin-young is there from Daegu FC as well. Jung Sang-bin is there. We'll talk about him in a second. And Hong Hyun-sak is there as well. So quite a few coming in from Europe for this midfield. Matthew, of that list, and I think this list is the hardest one to pick a standout player. Well, before we get into a standout player, I mean, because we can't come in here and not talk about Lee Kang-in. He's somebody that I think is being hailed by many as the future of the Korean national team. There might have been a FIFA Plus documentary featuring him recently. I don't know if anybody's heard or if anybody's seen it, but there's a FIFA Plus documentary called Heart of the Taegeuk Warriors, episode 3. Half of it focuses on him. It's pretty good. I was really involved in it.
I was going to say, is there a reason you're plugging this, Ryan? There's a reason.
There's a reason I'm plugging it. Yes, I was many things for that project. I think something producer is what the title I got in the end, but just so many things for that. But we did take a look at the future of Korean football, and obviously Lee Kang-in was somebody that was mentioned there. He's in his 7th year in Spain right now. He's made the most appearances of his career this year. He was the 2019 U20 MVP. And I think that this is a tournament where he could be putting himself in the shop window for a team that wants him to start week in, week out. I think we know that he's a talent in Europe. We know he's a known quantity. His vision is outstanding. His passing is outstanding. He is a world-class talent, and I think that he's going to shine in this tournament. I think Korea is lucky to have him in the midfield in this tournament. So before we get to anybody else, we have to mention him. But Matthew, who do you have your eye on in this one?
I was just going to follow up with Lee Kang-in there. He seems to forever be in the comments, in the replies to any Korean national team, as in, where is Lee Kang-in? People are clamoring for him to be in that national team setup, and Paulo Bento doesn't quite see where he fits in at the moment. Perhaps not seeing the need for him, but this could be the tournament that propels him and puts him in the eye just before the Qatar World Cup, because I think they're running out of opportunities, any players on the fringes now, and this is probably Lee Kang-in's best shot. But to go for the players I'm going to pick, I don't know. As you said, there's such a selection here. I mean, I think the best player there is Won Sang for Ulsan. I think he's an absolutely fantastic player. He's 14 appearances this season, 6 goals, 4 assists in that time. He was brought in to replace the outbound Lee Dong-jun and also the outbound Lee Dong-kyung, and we were tipping Ulsan to struggle, and he's come in and he's just fits in seamlessly with that Ulsan squad. It looks like he's always been part of that Ulsan team, and he was part of the 2019 Under-20 World Cup squad that finished runners-up. He was one of the AFC Under-23 champions in 2020. He's hit another gear in Ulsan this year. He's only 1 goal away from a career high, and he's also got 3 goals in 7 appearances in the Champions League. So, he could well end up getting an even bigger move in the winter if he continues this form. But apart from Won Sang, I'd also like to mention his former teammate at Gwangju, and that's Ji-sung. Now, Ji-sung, he's a lesser-known talent, perhaps, but still one of the hotter prospects in the K-League. Well, K-League 2 now, but he's had 13 appearances in K-League 2 this season, scoring 4 goals in this. He's just 20 years old, but he actually played 37 times for Gwangju last season in K-League 1, scoring 4 in that process. So he's already matched that this year. He's played at under 17 and under 18 level for the Korean national team, and he got 14 minutes with the senior side in which he came on and scored. So he's a really exciting young talent, and we used Peter, when he was on this podcast, he would always rave about Om Ji-sung. So I'm going to back him. I'm going to back the Oms. Om Won-sang, Om Ji-sung. I think they're they're the ones I'm most excited to see.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, honestly, we could go in on everybody in this midfield list. I think seeing Jung Sung-bin again will be really exciting. This is the strength of this team, and like you say, quite a few of them could be listed as a forward. The KFA loves doing this, where they're just just pile them into the midfield. But I think that they're going to cause a lot of headaches in this group, in this tournament in general. There's just so much talent in that midfield. But we do have our guests waiting. So let's go ahead. Let's move on to the forwards real quick. And let's talk about Park Jung-in, who is joining from Busan I Park. Let's talk about Oh Se-hoon, who K-League fans will remember. He's over in Japan now, obviously. And then Cho Young-uk, the young Wookiee. He's there for FC Seoul. He had a really, really hot start to the season for FC Seoul and is quieted down a little bit now. I think a lot of that for me for Cho Young-uk is because he's not being played where he was at the beginning of the season. I thought he was looking a lot better when he was in the middle of the pitch. And there's just this obsession with playing him on the wing. And I think that it's been proven that that's not really where he's at his best. And I do have a concern, especially with Hwang Sun-hong, who's managed him before. I do have a concern that he's going to be deployed out on the wing here, but that's Cho Young-uk, who's still somehow still here. He's still in the youth teams. It feels like we've been talking about him for 10 years, but he's still here. So, I mean, I think it shows his career progression's not necessarily as off track as it may have felt for some folks last year that were insisting he needed to be in K-League 2. I don't know who would have said that.
Yeah, no. But yeah, Cho Young-uk, he's I think of the three strikers, he might be the one. Well, okay, I was going to say he might be the one in form, but obviously Park Jung-in has actually scored more for Busan.
Yeah.
But
eight goals for Busan this year. Last year he had 8 goals. This year he has 5 goals and 2 assists.
Yeah, it should
for
be
a team that's struggling.
And he's not technically. He was a winner with Ulsan in the AFC Champions League 2020.
That's right.
He actually did feature for the under-23 side in the qualifiers. He actually scored a couple as well. So he is known by Hwang Sun-hong and could be favoured here. I know him, again, as mentioned, Busan is struggling at the moment, but he's still putting in a show. So Hwang Sun-hong could go with who he knows best, and this player has performed for him before. I think the most talented of the three is Oh Se-hoon, but because he's had such a slow start, perhaps we could say, to life in J-League 1. 8 appearances, but 2 of them only starts, 1 goal from that. This is in comparison to the considerable number of goals he scored. Well, he scored 7 goals in Ulsan last year, despite being at Gimcheon at the start of the year. So Oh Se-hoon does know the KNT youth well, though. He's was an under-20 World Cup finalist as well. He's an under-23 Asian Cup winner as well. He's got Champions League experience in 2021. He also scored 3 goals in that brief stint in the Champions League. And he doesn't need exemption. He's done the military service. He's helped the team get promoted. He got signed to the J-League because of the talent that he possesses. So I still think he's the most talented of the 3 strikers, but I think perhaps because he hasn't been playing as much, Hwang Sun-hong may favour Park Jung-in up front.
I mean, it's also, it's going to depend on how they want to play. Oh Se-hoon is obviously the traditional Korean striker, a big boy that they can chuck the ball into, and he's done really well with that. But these teams they're going against, these Southeast Asian sides, they are fast and they are well adept at winning. There are a lot of champions in this group. Matthew, we're gonna transition here. We're gonna kick you out for a little bit so you can watch the end of the FA Cup games here, as I've been keeping an eye on off to the side. The Dragons are still holding on to a 2-1 win as of right now as this is being recorded. But we're going to boot you out, and we're going to talk about the other teams in this group. We're going to talk about Malaysia, Thailand, and Vietnam in AFC U23 Asian Cup Group C right after a quick break. We'll be right back.
FNR is a revolutionary football-dedicated digital platform, the first of its kind in Australia. It provides a 24/7 live online radio platform experience, podcast hub, and acts as a content provider for TV, radio, and digital. Having reached millions of listeners and football fans since launching, FNR is accessible worldwide via its website or app, providing a platform to discuss, debate, and celebrate the world game. We are your voice of football, FNR Football Nation Radio.
Welcome back to the K-League United podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Walters, and it is a very different looking screen now. Gentlemen, welcome from Thai League Central. It's Gian Chansrichawla, who I am joined by virtually again.
Hello.
No
How are
longer
you?
in
You're
person.
still around, right? You're still in Thailand, or how are you enjoying it?
You can't kick me out, man.
Yeah.
I'm not going anywhere.
Where are
No,
you
I
now?
am-
Where have you explored? Where are you currently?
So after seeing you in Bangkok, I went down to Krabi for a minute because who doesn't love Krabi during rainy season like a smart person? I was down there to do some scuba diving and the boats weren't going out. So ho-hum, I had to sit on the beach and eat good food. It was really rough. And then I came up north to Chiang Mai, which, boy, I like this city. I like this city a lot. I've extended my stay here twice. I have to leave. I have to leave eventually. I'm actually leaving tomorrow and I'm coming back down to Bangkok. So be back down there for a bit. And then it's off to Bali for some AFC Cup action. Because why not? So that's my travel plans. But our other guest, Keesh, it's been a minute since we've had you on here. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Yeah, it's been a minute as well. You've got a heck of a travel plan going on there.
It doesn't suck. I'm not gonna, and that, I didn't even finish it. I'm not even done yet. After that, I think I'm hopping up to Hanoi for a minute, just to check it out because I've done the South in Vietnam and I really liked Ho Chi Minh. And the plan was to go all the way up, but the South is gorgeous, and so I just spent time down south, made it almost to Da Nang, and then headed back. So this time I'm gonna do the north, and then secret plans after that I will reveal in time when we are allowed to talk about such things. I'll just say it's exciting. But yeah, it's a fun summer. I always enjoy being in Southeast Asia. I always enjoy watching Southeast Asian football, and it's really worked out for me this year because that's who Korea is going to be facing, is only folks from Southeast Asia. And I'll rub some salt in my wounds here. We're going to go in the reverse running order from the SEA Games. So let's start with Malaysia. Sorry, had to do it.
Understandable.
For folks that aren't obsessively watching the national team or folks that might not know the youth team specifically, what would you say are some of the strengths and weaknesses of this U23 Malaysia side?
I think a major strength, which I think a lot of people only got to find out during the SEA Games, is the relationship-based strength that exists within the squad. This is a squad that has come under a lot of pressure because its predecessors had some of the most talented players in the current generation. Your Safawi Rashids, your Akia Rashids were in the previous squads. Defensively, they had Matt Davies back then. I think it's safe to say that a large chunk of that previous squad, the one that did really well at the 2018 AFC U23 Championship, are now a part of the national team as well. So when you have to carry on the baton from that era, there's obviously a lot of pressure. And the current squad, I wouldn't go as far as to say that they are as talented, but being under that sort of pressure has molded them into a very what the word I'd use is a very family-based unit. And you could see that because when the goals were being scored at the SEA Games, the players were running straight down the touchline towards Brad Melanie. And it's the kind of thing that you never really saw before, but you saw it during the SEA Games. And I think it got most Malaysian fans going like, oh, wait on a minute. Like, there's something here. There's something bigger than just a football team here. I think they're very close-knit unit. And I think that could really be Malaysia's strength. Because in terms of talent, look, I'm going to raise my hands up and say this squad is not as good as the one we saw in 2018. And that's exactly why they've come under pressure. But if there's one thing that's going to help them at the AFC Under-23 is just how close everyone is and how willing everyone is to fight for each other on the pitch.
Yeah, that can go a long way, especially when we're talking about tournament football where the games are coming thick and fast and momentum can carry you that much. And speaking of tournament football, this is nothing new to them. They're basically going from one tournament to another, which we'll talk about that and how that may be an advantage or maybe a disadvantage for the Southeast Asian sides in this group, because there might be some tired legs, but form is there. And speaking of form, I alluded to it snarkily, sorry, as we led in, but the current form for Malaysia, for folks that don't know, they did finish where in the SEA Games?
They finished fourth, lost the semi-final to Vietnam after extra time, and then it was a 1-1 draw with Indonesia in the bronze medal match, but then we lost, I think, 4-3 on penalties, so we ended the tournament in fourth place.
And with that, I mean, yes, obviously I'm being shecky because it's fun, but those aren't very big losses. And so with that, with those games being so close, and I think these are the four teams that people were expecting to be there at the end. And these are four teams that we've seen senior and youth level. These are the four that are stepping forward right now. Do you think that is there encouragement with the form? I mean, you said the chemistry is there right now, but do you think that the form the team is in is also a strength right now?
I think honestly, if I know you alluded to the fact that we finished fourth and form isn't exactly the greatest at the moment, but the reality is most Malaysian fans had very minimal expectations for the squad going to the SEA Games, and it's not just down to the quality that's present within the squad, but rather the calendar year, the tournaments are all happening in the midst of a super busy calendar as well, and that's led to a lot of teams in Malaysia not releasing players. Brad Melanie, I think on the first day of the call-up, he only had 5 players that reported for duty. There was a lot of drama here locally with regards to clubs not wanting to release, and it's understandable because even the local calendar is ridiculously packed. Yeah. And we get it. There's always this constant raging debate between club versus country, right? And those debates have been happening over here in Malaysia as well, because clubs have big stakes, and you've got clubs like Selangor and Terengganu in particular who rely a lot on some of these young players to push them in the league. So for them, releasing these players is akin to you destabilizing, almost 30% of the squad. And that could cause a major harm in their own title push or their own league push. So a lot of those things, caused a lot of disruptions to Malaysia's planning. And in many ways, the message locally as well has always been that the bigger priority is the AFC Under-23, and the SEA Games was going to be used as a preparatory tournament. So I think most Malaysians had very low expectations, but they were genuinely surprised by how the team performed. There was that win over Thailand. I mean, obviously it came, you've got to put asterisks to it because, Thailand had a player sent off, but a win is a win. And that win was a big morale boost for Malaysia. And I think many Malaysians did not expect to see the boys drag Vietnam into extra time in the semifinals, especially given Malaysia's recent track record against Vietnam, and also the fact that Park Hang-seo has had a lot of room to prep that squad compared to his counterpart Brad Melanie, right? So when you look at all these minor narratives that existed within the SEA Games, and you add that to the fact that players like Lukman Hakim finally started scoring in the tournament as well, the boy that's based in Belgium, Hadi Fayad, another guy who's come under so much of criticism, playing in Japan, suffered injuries over the last couple of years. Even he scored a couple of goals in the tournament. So you put all of this together, and all of a sudden you've got a Malaysian team and more of a positive sentiment that's sort of accompanying them into this AFC Under-23 tournament. So I wouldn't go so as far as to say that now Malaysian fans are expecting them to be, all guns blazing and march into the knockout stages. No. But I think there's a lot more optimism than there was before.
Sure. And are one of those gentlemen that you just mentioned the one that you would recommend folks watch in this tournament? Who's the player that you think is going to be the standout for Malaysia?
There's a bunch of guys here. I mean, Lukman Hakim is the biggest in terms of name. Lukman Hakim is the biggest because he plays for KV Kortrijk in the Belgian league. And primarily plays for the under-23 team, but he's based in Belgium. He is a regular fixture in the national team as well. But the problem with Lukman is that over the last 1 year and a half since his move to Belgium, he's come under fire for his performances on the international stage. Hasn't quite been able to live up to the hype that was built around him after his move to Belgium. But he started scoring the SEA Games, and he's certainly one to watch. Hadi Fayed is an interesting name because he left Johor Darul Takzim, which is a big decision for any footballer to make in Malaysia. And he moved to Japan. And over there, he's been trying to get a consistent run of games in J3, but he picked up an injury, an ACL injury last year that ruled him out for almost a year. But he started playing again slowly now with Asul Claro Nomazu, I think, if I'm not mistaken. And he came back and scored in the SEA Games as well, which is a big thing for him on a personal level. But there's one kid that I particularly like. His name is Shafiq Ismail. Plays on the flank. He's very small, but he's very quick. He's very unpredictable, and he's one of those guys that hasn't had a lot of games on the international stage. So there's still that element of surprise about him. And he's very unfazed. He's unfazed by defenders. He's unfazed by pressure. He's got that raw eagerness on the pitch. So he's a bit of an X factor. So Shafiq Ismail is someone I'll watch out for.
Love it. Yeah, I love it. A small, pacey winger. Hook it to my veins. Big fan. Gian, let's move over to you. Let's move up the SEA Games bracket a little bit to the silver medal winners there. We'll call it silver medal winners. Look, hey, I was here. I was out and about. I was cheering for both teams because I have to be neutral. I don't have to be neutral. I was cheering for Thailand because I'm in Thailand. What do I care? But let's talk about this team. And there were some overage players that were leaned upon, but for the most part, I think it was a pretty good squad. Would you agree with that assessment?
Not really.
Okay.
Okay, I'll answer the first. I mean, the strengths and weaknesses part as brutally as I can. The strengths of our team is the score. The weakness is the return of Warawutsi Maka as head coach. And I'll happily tell you about the SEA Games, but it's kind of hard to determine how the SEA Games will affect the team because the head coach is changing and all the players are changing. We can talk about both of that, but I'll start by telling you a bit about this man who is going to return to take us to this tournament, it looks like. And I'm still praying that Mano can somehow coach both teams because the senior team and the U23 are both in Uzbekistan. So I am praying that somehow they can get Mano to coach both. The games don't conflict on the same day. If he's up for it, man, I'd love it. Because Warawut, oh my goodness. Okay. He seemed to make every single decision wrong in Mongolia in the qualifiers. Like every decision you could have made wrong, he made it wrong. Every single time. That qualifying campaign was a disgrace in every sense of the word. There are rumors that the players don't like how they're being asked to play. You know, he has players who love having the ball at their feet, players who love to pass. He's asking them to play direct and direct to no one because there's no main center forward in the team that he took to Mongolia. And it was just a massive disaster in every way you can imagine. We qualified because Laos did us a big favor by drawing against Mongolia. That's the only reason we qualified. And his response to that was, I believe in destiny and I let destiny do the work. Now, it might just be me, but I think a football coach who thinks destiny should do the work is like an astronaut who thinks the earth is flat. Like you can't be a football coach if you think destiny can do the work for you. But you know what? He's the one Pang picked, and clearly she doesn't even believe in him because when it came down to regional pride, she picked Mano. So she told the whole country, I don't believe in Warawut, but now next month you have to believe in Warawut. Why should I? You don't believe in him. If you believe in him, you took. Okay, I'll stop. What's the next question?
I just love the fact. I love the fact that every time we talk, whether it's club or national team, it's always it starts next week. We don't know who the manager is going to be.
Yeah, basically. Okay,
it's every time we talk. It's like group stage starts tomorrow. The manager should be there by the afternoon. We hope.
Yeah. I
We'll
can't wrap
see.
my head around it. I can't wrap my head around it. Like, so we've had 3 different coaches because we sent the U20 team to Cambodia at the beginning of the year, which was a smart call because we were good enough with U20s to get to the final. So that was a good call. But then, so you're taking Mano to the SEA Games with a squad that's very different to the one that's going to go to Uzbekistan, because a lot of players are still playing in the cup semifinals in Thailand, so they didn't get released. And we have 9 players from Europe joining the 30-man squad. I think that must be the first time in history there's more European-based players in the Thai squad than the Korean squad. It must be the first for. We have a bunch of new players coming in, so it's like, why? Like, what was the SEA Games like? What can I read from that? Why did that happen? Like, what is this? Like, what did I just witness?
Well, I mean, I guess on that note, is there any kind of continuity from that tournament that you think will carry over here with that many changes? Like, is there anything to even really glean from the SEA Games for, I mean, even for Malaysia, Korea, and Vietnam as they're trying to study this team? Or do you think it's going to be kind of almost a clean slate in a way?
I'd say it's going to be a clean slate because, I mean, that tournament was a bunch of games. I think it was 2 days rest between the games. It was a 20-man squad, something insane like that. Like, we couldn't even take enough. I don't know if you realize, Mano picked 2 fullbacks because he was like, I don't know how to manage a 20-man squad. This is unheard of. So he took 1 right back and 1 left back, and he played them in alternate games. So when he played Nakin, play a center mid, Irfan on the left. And then when he played Jaturpa on the left, he played a right winger, Jacket on the right. So he just I'll play with 1 fullback because this competition is so insane. I can't do anything else. So it'll be totally different. I think we could make a fairly solid starting 11 without a single one of those SEA Games players in it. And it would be very solid. So I don't know how it's going to go. From that squad, the only ones who I think are guaranteed to get into any starting 11, maybe Jonathan Kemdy, but he got himself sent off and was reckless the whole tournament. Korowit is too inconsistent sometimes. I don't know. It could be a totally different 11. So it's hard to see.
Yeah. I mean, like I was saying, it's always an interesting conversation talking about where Thailand is with things and the national team setup. We had a couple of questions that came in as well, but I think we will get the final team in this group while I watch the extra time of the Dragons for 1 minute here, because we did get some questions in the mailbag, which we will get to shortly. But we also do have one other team in this group to get to. But before I do, Gian, is there any one name that you wanted to throw out? I was getting the sense that there wasn't, but I don't want to cut you off there. There is one. There is one. Let's do this.
There's many. I was getting to the good news last, and I'm like, oh, okay, good. The good news, the very, very fantastic news for Thailand, is that Grisada Kaman and Supanat Munta are in both the senior team and the U23 team, because they're both in Uzbekistan, and they will play for both. And that is like the biggest news we could have had, because Grisada and Supanat are on a different level right now, and I believe they can slot in. Supanat's been used pretty sparingly by Buriram, so he'll be fresh because they're really stacked up front. Grisada will be exhausted because he is Chonburi. Like, Chonburi is Grisada, but I think it's do a job. And they're the 9 European-based players, a few of them joining for the first time. Tanawat at Leicester, still doing very well. Look, if a K-League team wants a Thai player, like, Tanawat's your obvious choice. He's such a good central midfielder. So I can see it working very well, where Warachit and Weertape go out, and then we bring Tanawat in. I think we'll be okay without the overage players, and I think these new players coming in will be good, and especially having Gritsta and Supanat available to both teams it gives us a lot of options, and I think we'll need them, especially against Korea. We'll need them.
Yeah, and as you alluded to earlier, Supanat not necessarily available for the SEA Games gold medal because Buriram was playing in the FA Cup final at the exact same time.
And the League Cup semi-final in 20 minutes. They're on for a treble right now, actually.
Scheduling. Who needs it?
Yeah.
Who cares? Just put them whenever. The teams will figure it out. It's always something. But Yeah, we do have one more team in this group to get to, and then we were going to take a really quick break. But before we do, the back-to-back SEA Games champs, a team that, I think a lot of Korean football fans will know somewhat well with Park Hang-seo and his exploits there in Vietnam. Here to talk about that team is Quan Tran Tue, and we will be right back after this.
Hi guys, I'm Quan, and thanks for having me today. So I will talk about U23 Vietnam in the upcoming U23 Asian Cup. As you already know, we just won the SEA Games, successfully retained the gold medal in our home and defeating the Malaysia and Thailand, who are also in the same group as us. Most importantly, we were able to keep the clean sheet in the whole campaign, which is a really good thing. However, there are a few things that concern me. Aside from how we were stuck in the offense at times and struggling to score goals, we were a little bit relying on our overage players, Hùng Dũng, Tiến Linh and Hoàng Đức, and without those three, it will be much harder for us to play, and our system can not be just as solid without those three. And not only the three overage players, we are going to miss Văn Xuân, our first choice wingback, who can play in both the right side and the left side. He got injured in the semi-final against Malaysia and going to be out for a really long time. And as you already know, SEA Games is also the last tournament for Park Hang-seo in the U23 team. And we are going to have a brand new coach in the upcoming U23 Asian Cup, Go Oh-kyun, who is also Korean. As of now, he's still a big question mark for most of our fans, and we still don't know how will he do things and how will he get the team plays differently from Park Hang-seo. And about the player to watch, I would suggest you guys to watch Bùi Hoàng Việt Anh, the center back among the back three in the last SEA Games. He's really solid and tough. He's also tall, strong and good in the air, and had a sense of timing to know when to dive in or just when to just jockey to the opponent. And most importantly, he can be a threat during the offense as well, when he could become an overlap center back among the back three, who could go up to either win the balls in the opposition half, or maybe he could suddenly putting out the surprising long shoot, which could become an option for the team when they are needing goals. From the last few seasons, he has been improving a lot, and now he has a really good shot in becoming the main center back in the senior national team. And as a Vietnamese, I hope the best for our team in the upcoming U23 Asian Cup. However, I would be lying if I said I'm not worrying about our upcoming performance, especially when we have to face against U23 South Korea, and we have to face up U23 Thailand and Malaysia again, who I expected to really eager to get the revenge from the SEA Games in the upcoming tournament.
Eulji Lewis is your neighborhood British bar and cafe located in the Old Jiro district of Seoul. Decorated in old English antiques and furniture for a true homely feel, you can enjoy homemade scones, cakes and afternoon tea during the day, and traditional British favourites like beef stew, English ale, and a fine selection of wines at night. Available for private parties or simply an evening out, Eulji Lewis is sure to become your favourite neighbourhood pub. Be sure to mention K-League United at the bar during your visit and you'll get 10% off your bill.
Welcome back to the K-League United podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Walters, and I have some bad news for everybody involved here. The podcast is over. Everything is done. The Dragons just conceded in the 94th minute. It's 2-2 in the FA Cup to Busan Transportation Corporation, and I quit. I hate football.
Yeah, well, John Book could be joining you at the moment. They're currently in injury time, only beating a third division side, Ulsan Citizen 1-0, and the protest banners are out at the side of the pitch. Yeah, it's great. But enough of the FA Cup. Obviously, that's that's something we can report back on in a few minutes when we have some confirmed results. But let's dive into the Eulji Malu in there. They're there. Take it back.
We're not distracted at all.
Yeah, we're definitely not distracted by there's been a goal. No, okay.
Pohang scored.
That was it. Yeah, sorry, I panicked. That's what happened there. I saw a flash on the screen, and I assumed.
Oh, Daejeon Korail equalized against Daegu. Go on. Go
There
on,
we
Corel.
go.
All right. Anyway,
Yeah, this is not what people are tuning
this
in
is
for.
not what it's for.
This is going to
What's
sound
happening to
really
Gamma
good.
now?
When,
What's happening to Gamma now?
he's going into. He sounds like he's going into injury time against a third-tier club as
Oh.
well. So yeah,
Oh
doing
my
very well
goodness.
for
A
himself.
third-tier
Since moving
club
over.
that was in the FA Cup final somewhat recently.
Yeah,
So
the third tier of K-League can overlap a lot with the second tier in terms of quality, definitely.
indeed.
But yes, right. To the questions, the Eulji Lewis Mailbag.
The thing you host every week.
The thing
That's
that I
what we're
host every-
doing.
It's got progressively worse as well each episode. Like, have you been listening recently? It's just declining every week. I seem to mess this up, but I've got it this week. We sort of.
We've
I've
only
got it
been
from
doing this
now.
for like 5 years.
Yeah, well, you know. First off, we have John Christian on Instagram stories coming in with a nice, easy one. Ryan, what was your favorite food?
Oh, I may have had it today, actually. Khao soi is a northern dish here. It's a delicious curry with noodles, some crunchy noodles, some chicken. It's usually got like a chicken drumstick in there, just like a little chicken leg. But today, not only like there was just like this splash of like coconut milk in there, and they're like, you mix it yourself, I don't care. But it was great. And then it had just these little chunks of dark meat in it instead of the whole leg. So it was really super easy to eat. And that like soaked up the curry a little bit more. Ooh, baby. It was good. I mean, I've been eating well since I've been here. Everything here is good. Everything here is good. But khao soi is my favorite.
All right, fair enough. That's not the food that put you out for a week last week, was it, by the way?
No, we don't need to relive my street meat food poisoning. Because when it's 3 p.m. and you see some dude selling a sausage on the side of the street and you think, sure, that's a good snack. I don't know how long that's been sitting there. What could go wrong?
What could?
4 days. 4 days of just chilling. Anyway, let's move on.
So we've got some questions in from Azri, and he's got questions for all of us. So we'll go around the table. First one is for you, Keesh, and it's based on how they did in the Southeast Asian Games. Seems Malaysia is more than capable to sit deep and frustrate opponents like they did against Vietnam. Do we expect to see that again here?
Yeah, I actually think that's going to be the approach. Honestly, if you ask me, I don't see a lot of variety shown by Brett Maloney and this Malaysian team. I think that's probably been the most frustrating thing for Malaysian fans when you're used to watching the previous generation play a lot more free-flowing football and attacking-minded football. But I think it's a bit of a tough pill to swallow when you've got to realize that the current crop of players just aren't at that level, and you've got to be a bit more realistic with the style of play. And we saw it at the SEA Games. I think against Thailand, until the red card, they just sat deep. They did it against Vietnam as well, completely frustrated Park Hang-seo's man. And when you look at the quality of the opposition, right, you've got Vietnam under 23, you've got Thailand under 23, who will be strengthened by some of the senior players as well, as Gian pointed out. And then you've got Korea under 23. I can't see anything else than Brad Maloney opting for a more conservative, soak it up and hit them on a counter approach.
Yeah.
Okay, and he's got a question for you, Gian. What are your thoughts on the pros and cons of the senior team head coach also leading the under-23s?
So I'm a party pooper. I don't know why we cared about the SEA Games so much. Like, we make so many decisions based on like regional pride or chances of like achieving more. If it was my choice, if I was the FA president, God forbid, I would have just taken the U20 team that we sent to Cambodia. I'd have taken the 18, 19-year-olds and said, go, get another learning experience. Because the main U23 guys were not released by their clubs because they're in various cup competitions. And we don't have, all those European-based players, yet we still take our head coach while his own senior team is doing a training camp in Bangkok without him. So, like, why? Like, what are you thinking? Like, it's a decision based on regional pride that I'm like, just don't do that. I'd rather send the 18, 19-year-olds again, frankly. And you made Weera tape. He's tired already, man. Like, stop hurting my boy, frankly. At the SEA Games, I would have gone full Mourinho before the tournament. I'd have been like, this Mickey Mouse trophy. We already won the AFF Cup. Let Vietnam have their party. And then when you lose to Vietnam in the Vietnam would win. Let's forget that and move on. That'd have been my tactic.
But would you have the same coach doing it? Was the question.
I think. I think Mano 10 years ago would have done that. I think Mano's mellowed out. I think Mano 10 years ago would have been like, yeah, man. Like you just said what he came to his head. But yeah, I don't know why we made Mano do that. Like, why did we put Mano through that? Like, come on.
We also know that from head to toe, he only has one coaching outfit. So that man needs a laundry day in between.
Yeah, between the 2 days, he needs to do his laundry. Yeah. Okay, yeah. He actually does what he claims that he washes it every time, but it's lucky. So if he wins, he'll wear the same thing next time. If he loses, he'll change. So.
Oh, I thought it was the same black shirt and jeans every single time.
If he wins, it's the same thing next time. If he loses it, he changes it.
He must have been in form when you saw him, Ryan. But yeah, there is a question for us, Ryan, or let's just say it's exclusively for you, Ryan, because I don't want to answer it. What formation would you like to see Hwang Sung-hong deploy?
Would I like to see him deploy?
Yeah.
I don't care what he does in his free time when he's not a manager. I wish he wasn't. No, I won't. I won't follow the manager rant. I've not been a huge fan of Hwang Sung-hong. He does like a back three. I really hope he doesn't do that. I think with the midfield depth here, I think a 4-3-3 could work. That does force in a couple of wingers that I don't necessarily like. So maybe a 4-1-4-1 we've seen before. 4-2-3-1 I think would probably be the best, though, to be honest, because there is that depth in the midfield. So if you're going to try to get as many of those players out on the field as you can, then I think you got to go 5 in the midfield, chuck Osei-hoon up top, and just see what those boys can do. And then I think, especially when we were talking about Cho Young-uk earlier, I think if you can play him more centrally and he can kind of float forward when he needs to, and he can play off of Osei-hoon and they can kind of go back and forth, which they have experience working together. That thunder and lightning combo that we all love so much. I would like to see that. I know I just said a 4-3-3, but I actually hope that we don't see that, because I don't think there are any like true out and out proper wingers on this squad. And I think it'd be players played out of position to try to fit that, like Cho Young-uk out on the wing, like we see all the time. And I don't think he fits as well there. And then, to be honest, whatever works best for Lee Kang-in is what you do. So whatever formation he thinks works best, I think that's what you got to go with.
Well, last time out, he did actually play a 4-3-3 in the qualifiers to get here, Ryan. So you may.
Son of a...
Yeah.
Great.
Cool. Okay, and I'm just going to agree with you. So on the note of managers, though, Steph Badroff on Instagram story asks, how much more patience can Busan management have with Ricardo Perez? And he's addressed from Gian. Yeah, I was going to say, yeah. But no.
Matthew, Ricardo, you take this one. Come on, everybody's had one. You got to take one.
Well, I mean, you'd think that there could be in a normal club. You'd think there'd be no more patience left. Surely, it's absolutely abysmal what's going on there. His relationship as well is fractured with the fans. It looks like at present. It's but because Busan's board have connections to the KFA and Perez connections. I mean, that's what it looks like from the outside in. But fortunately, we have got somebody who knows far more about it than I can possibly elaborate on, and that was our own Do-won Lee, who'll be hopefully on next week's podcast. He's going to be giving us the rundown soon on everything going on at Busan. So I'd suggest that Steph tunes into next week's episode and hopefully can get a better answer than I can give. But yeah, hopefully I mean, I'd imagine not too long, but we'll see.
It's an interesting one because he's one of the very few foreign managers in Korea. And I think the standard procedure in this case for a Korean manager would be to resign and to make it look like they're the ones stepping down. But when asked if he would resign, he said the captain is the last one on the ship or something along those lines. This dude always loves speaking in platitudes. So he was like, I'm not going anywhere. You'll have to fire me, basically. And they're just not going to fire him. So it's a mess in Busan right now. But like you said, we will be talking a little bit more about that next week in our K2 special, which we haven't had in a long time. I'll also be speaking with Samuel Namani from not Jeonnam Dragons. And actually, we could use Samuel tonight because he was the one that scored the winning goal against Busan Transport last year in the FA Cup, but he's with Bucheon FC 1995 this year and loving life towards the top of the league.
Scored tonight as well in the FA Cup for Bucheon, whereas they progressed past Gwangju.
It's been going quite well for him, so we'll be talking about that next week. But for this week, I think we'll stop it there because somebody has to watch some extra time FA Cup football. But Keesh, Gian, thank you guys so much for joining us. And before we get out of here, where can folks find you online? Gian, we'll start with you because everybody that watches this podcast already knows, but where can they find you anyway?
The Twitter handle you see on the screen, that one, that's the first place. But more likely, if you want actually good content, rambling nonsense, League Central, TaegCentral.com, Taeg Central on Twitter, at TL Central on Twitter. Go there. Much better than my own account. I just post nonsense. So go to Taeg Central.
All lies. It's all good. I'll follow all of them. And Keesh, you are all over the place these days. Where can folks find you?
I mean, it's Twitter as usual. Just got to put in Keesh Mutstats on Twitter, and you'll be able to find me. On Instagram, it's the same handle as well. Post quite a bit of stuff on there as well. So yeah, Twitter and Instagram.
And on TV all the time. Come on, big up yourself here. We know. Stop being humble about this. This man's looking good on camera all the time. He's, I'm just on social like everybody else. Anyway, thank you, gents. I think this is going to be a really fun group, and obviously we will try to touch base with you once the games get started. But for now, it's bye for now, and also come on, Dragons. Come on, Dragons. All right, we'll be back next week.
Cheers, guys.
전투선 공동 폭격기 킹 신